everybody, and welcome to another episode of Hype and Then Some Meets. We are back in the building once again. This is the series that is a little bit different from our usual podcast. So this is where we're exploring the lives of the guests that live in the world of our favorite things. So music, fashion, culture, and sneakers. And today we are joined by a fantastic special guest, a creative director, the Premier League's first ever creative director, mind you, founder of a marketing agency and an all-round creative, Mr. Annan-Jonathan. Hey.
Oh, what an intro.
How was the intro? It was good.
Yeah, it was good, man. It was good. I appreciate it.
How are you doing? Thank you for coming, first and foremost.
No, thank you for having me. And I'm good. I'm good, man. I can't complain, honestly.
Good. Okay, so let's just get straight into it, okay? So what we want to do first is we want to do a quick fire question just to get to know you a bit better.
Cool.
Let the people get to know you a bit more, yeah?
Of course.
So first question, describe what you do in 5 words or less.
Ooh, rah, just like that. 5 words. What I do. Create.
Okay.
Imagine.
Okay.
Execute.
Okay.
Plan. That 5th one. The last one, I've got what I do. I'm trying to think of a word
To encapsulate.
the thesaurus in my brain is
Okay.
thinking of, but I'll just put communicate.
Okay,
That's
communicate. All right. Okay, second question. What was the last compliment that you received and who was it from?
Oh, wow. In an email on the way here.
Okay. And what was the compliment?
The compliment was I was being introduced to someone for a work partnership. And basically they were just saying that they had seen some of the work that I had done.
Oh, nice.
And just was congratulating me on just
Being who you are.
seeing the
Right.
work that I'm doing.
Sick. Okay, final question.
Yeah.
We know that you're from South London, South London boy. What is one thing that South London's taught you and that you take wherever you go?
I think grit, man. I think, and I say that it's just because I don't want to sound so cliche and cheesy, but like I think where South London is such like a hard place at times.
Yeah.
You have to be someone that perseveres. That's in any like area I'm talking about, whether that's work, in your community, social circles. It's just about like being able to have grit and determination to carry on. And I think I've been able to kind of like take that South London kind of embodiment and just apply it to different areas of my life.
I like that. No, I like that one. Okay, so the way that we tend to go about things here with Hype and Then Some Meets is we want to go through your story, past, present, future, right? So let's go back.
Gosh.
So some of us may remember, Kenny, I know I'm looking at my co-host in the room, that remember you from when you used to own Playdot Apparel. Playdot Apparel. And the thing is, when I was doing when we were going through the questions and stuff, I was going through it and I actually remember all the t-shirts. I could have sworn I used to own.
Yeah.
There was a vest top that had the
the
icon
face,
down in the middle.
yeah.
Anyway, what time?
Damn.
So that was, I guess that's where a lot of people might have first been introduced to to you. What was your favorite thing about owning Playdot?
Oh my gosh, you took it there. Do you know, I'll tell you what's funny before I start that. Because the people that know me now have no idea for that.
Really?
And then the people that know me from then cannot see me as anything else.
Oh,
it's
that's
hilarious. I get people
interesting.
like, are you still doing clothes? I'm like, guys, man, that's been years. Yeah, no, interesting. So I think for me, starting Playdot, I was young. I was like 17, 18 with a cousin of mine. It's just about expression, man. I want to, again, when you start things at that age, back then it wasn't about, I've got this business plan, I want to do this. It's like, it was just something cool to do outside of just the noisy world around us. My cousin had already started a brand before. And then he was doing it with some friends and it just didn't really go well.
Okay.
I was young, but always kind of had a creative knack. So he kind of asked me, do I want to help him out with this? So when I had joined with him, the designs and everything that was going on just didn't really fit me because I'm coming into something that's already been created.
Right.
So I just went for a whole rebrand of it, just kind of stripped it apart and just created something new. But I think the journey of Playdot for me was it just allowed me to, I didn't see it at the time, but it just allowed me to express myself. Like I was saying, I was talking about like the grit of South London and how hard it is.
Yeah.
And then you do something that's just full of colours and expression.
Yeah.
But again, I grew up in the era of the Pharrells and the Kanye Wests, those people that were probably in and around, you know, whether it's gangster rap or people from the hood or XYZ, but they was like the ray of hope that you could still be cool and sit in and amongst those spaces. Yeah. And I kind of had that position. My sister's a performer. I would go with her to like West London like week in, week out while she was performing and singing. So it's weird, like one end I'm here in the trenches and then on a Thursday night I'm in West London where my sister's at a theatre play. Right. Do you know what I mean? Right. And like obviously she's a few years older than me, we're close, but she was into that, and a lot of my expression of what I'm into came through her lens. Oh wow. Do you know what I'm saying? Like when she was like the music tastes and the genres that she was into kind of gave me a lens into it, and I just kind of implemented that into what I was doing. And do you feel like your sister influenced you like creatively in terms of how you express yourself? Massively. I tell her all the time. Yeah, I think like like without my sister there would be a lot of things that I wouldn't be into. Do you know what I mean? Because again, she the music that she was listening to was definitely from a mature lens. Like for me, I just want to hear hood stuff. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like something that related to me. Yeah. But like I would sit and again, not only the music taste, but because she was into music, she was a lot more attentive with why she listened to certain music. Right. Do you know what I mean? Right. So like early days when you're talking about, you know, Pharrell, Neptunes and Kesi, do you know what I mean? Like why Kesi? Or music was going around and, you know, at the time, like a Brandy, for instance, who might not be everyone's cup of tea, but if she's like your singer. Yeah. So like you listen to that and then it just opens up a world of, do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like just exploring. That's so interesting. Yeah, man. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay, so when we think about Playdot, or at least when I think about Playdot, it was very popular at a time. It was very popular. Right, I remember it being worn by celebrities. You know what I mean? So what happened there? Like, why did it end? Yeah, interesting. So listen, I always say like Playdot still has a special place in my heart. I don't speak about it much. Yeah. But we had moments where we was doing really well at the time, I guess. You were, for sure. You know, like moments I'm proud of, you know, stocking Harvey Nichols, Selfridges. Wow. We was in Lids, the headwear company. We was stocked globally at one time, doing collaborations with Starter. We had our own G-Shock. Wow. And that was back then. Yeah. But basically, cutting a long story short, at the time I was running another brand, which I won't go too early into. Okay. But I was running another brand and I had done basically like 10 days in China. So I went sorted out my manufacturing, XYZ. I'd come back and my office, I had all my stock there in central London and it basically got broken into. So they cleaned me for everything. So at that time, obviously I'm married. This is how I provide for my family. It just put me in a really bad place. Yeah. So like going from zero, then not having the money because I had invested all my money with one of my business partners into the stock. I just kind of had to find a way to juggle, and really that's kind of was my segue into what I'm doing now. Right. Again, I don't want to say anything prematurely because I don't know what questions you have. You can say what you want. But it was just, I kind of like organically fell into what I'm doing, but that's just what it was. Yeah. It weren't that I just wanted to stop. It's just that life happened and I just made a decision at a time, and then I just found another route for expression. That's so interesting. So at the time, did you see that as a blessing in disguise? Because obviously you just said that you were moving into, No way, man. It was painful as hell, man. So how were you able to, because you were just talking about transitioning into, you know, another brand that you was working on. Yeah. How did you, in that moment, because what would happen for me is if that happened to me, I'm not starting something else because I've just lost everything that I had. So how were you able to, or were you able to just simply be like, do you know what? Okay, well that's done now. Let me just crack on with this next thing. I was trying for ages to do it, but I wasn't mentally there because I still got to provide for a family. Yeah, of course. So I need money. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's all good to live on a hope and a dream, but I needed money. So I was trying, I was designing, I was doing this, but then at this point I'm 100% self-employed. Right. Also.
Right.
So I didn't have no backup like that. So yeah, like again, like I was saying, getting into what I'm doing now wasn't just like, oh, I'm just gonna try this now.
Okay.
Like I said, I was running another brand, which was Long Live Studios with Wilfred Zaha, who was a customer of mine from Playdot. That's how I met him.
Right.
Became really good friends. He wanted to start a brand. Came to me. We built that out. So naturally, I'd go with him to loads of meetings trying to pitch our brand to see what we can do commercially or from a brand partnership perspective. And I just realized there was no one around him at the time. Like as agents that were not sitting in the room. Remember, this is before all of this commercial world that we have. So going to these meetings and just really trying to figure things out. Business has been my forte. And again, we've spoken about Playdot, but there was loads. I was creative directing and consulting for loads of people in London, like from brands to loads of independent brands to music labels. I was doing it all, right? And then, yeah, I think it just got to a point where I remember there was one meeting and there was a deal that was just basically being spoken about. And I was like, this don't really sound like a great deal. So I kind of just jumped in.
Yeah.
And I spoke to him. I told him why I didn't think it was a good deal. And then after that, we just kind of spoke. And we kind of just unofficially just started working together in that space. And yeah, that was kind of the segue into it. So I'd go with him to his meetings and understanding branding and just saying, I think you should do this because your image and personality is like this. And it's not really a landscape for it. But then how do we help you to kind of, I know this person here. So a lot of the relationships I had actually from Playdot days, I was able to transfer over into, you know, some, I guess like cultural collateral with Wilf, but they wasn't no use to me when I was doing my clothes.
Right.
It's the truth.
That's so interesting. Because for me, I guess at that point now, so we're at Long Live stage now.
Yeah.
You're 2 fashion brands in. I would have thought that, or I guess anyone might have thought that fashion is going to be the lane that you would go down. But it wasn't like that for you. Is that because you already had like you mentioned, the creative direction with independent music labels and other brands that you're working on? Was it a thing where it was like, it was never really about fashion, it was more so about like business and the culture?
Well, at the time I didn't see it like that. Like I said, like I've grown up and it's tough. Like you become, like your brand just kind of becomes your identity. It's like what people know. Half the people didn't even know my name. It's Playdot. You know what I'm saying? It's not my name. There's definitely 2 of us in the business. But that's just what it was.
Yeah.
So no, I didn't. But I think I was praying about it for a very long time because I found it hard to let go of. Because I was just so attached to it. I just loved creating. And I genuinely believe I found a peace about it at one point. Doesn't mean I don't miss it. And it was like, I'm putting too much focus on the creation.
Right.
Rather than what I can create. So what I say now is that the lane of expression is down to where you channel your energy. And you can't put too much or bank too much on the creation because then it becomes an idol. So my focus is like, I love what I build and I am attached to them, but it's not the be all and end all.
Right.
Because I can create and use my gifts, I would call them, in any lane that I'd want to. I genuinely believe if someone told me, okay, I need to take on a client that's a company that creates plants, I think I could be the best in that field. I genuinely do. Yeah. It's just about attention to detail, understanding, research, and just having a colourful mind that expresses. So that's just all it was. I just found purpose in me being able to create rather than what I create.
What you create, yeah. Wow, amazing. Okay. So on that then, looking back at these ventures that we've spoken about, what would you say is a lesson that took you the longest to unlearn?
Ooh, I'm still going through that now, man.
Okay.
Entrepreneur syndrome, man. Because in the beginning stages, you don't, like, maybe finances and resources is not really what you have around you, especially coming where we're coming from, right? So you live with a hope and a dream. So what happens is, to get things going, you become all things to all men. Do you know what I'm saying? You become your accountant, your postman, you become your tax man, you become your creative, like, designer, everything. And it's great. As you get further along down the pipeline and you actually need to, like, start to delegate the workload, you become really, what's the word I'm looking for? You just really hold on to the way that you are working, but it doesn't service everyone. So when it's time to kind of delegate and put people in position that work differently from you, might be better actually at what you're doing, but work differently from you, you become very impatient.
Got you.
So everything is kind of like, this needs to be done this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. And you can't hold on to it because what you do is you're overloading yourself. So for me, it was just kind of the letting go and saying, just take it, just do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm someone, an email comes and I want to be like, you know, like all through this time, when we was organizing this, you lot really spoke to my assistant, right? Kristen.
Yeah.
That would have been me. That's also allowing someone to do something.
Yeah.
Tough.
Yeah.
But I know it helps me in the long run just because it allows me to focus on other areas.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's probably the toughest thing for me.
That's so interesting. And in terms of how much you'd say you've unlearned that, do you feel like you can say that you've fully unlearned it, or it's just a daily?
It's daily.
Yeah.
I think even people at the top still probably.
I was just about to say, I wonder if as you become more and more successful, there's more to hold on to. So there's more that you like would struggle to kind of delegate with, but.
And I watched an interview, right, with Maverick Carter and Kim Kardashian.
Okay.
That's how unimportant she is in my life. Sorry. But with Kim Kardashian.
Okay.
Do you know what's mad? Because when I was thinking Kim, I thought Kim Possible. Random, like so random. But yeah, Kim Kardashian.
Okay.
And Maverick Carter was basically asking her questions about, like, she runs a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah.
And it was so genuine, like extremely genuine. I don't think it was fake. He was asking her about her accomplishments. And you can see the imposter syndrome in her. And for me, it was weird to see, but I looked at it and I said, that's not fake, 100%.
Wow.
She was just really like, there's like, but you know you're successful. And she was like, yeah, but you could tell she felt like there was more to do.
Wow.
That's just all it is. Sometimes like we look from the outside. Another random one, right? What song is it? Like Jay-Z, and it's like, I can't remember the title of the song. Oh no, I do. It's God Did. Listen to Jay-Z's verse in that whole song, right? It's all about imposter syndrome. He's talking about like his friends like Emery and Tai Tai. He's like, I can't believe we are here. Jay-Z.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So sometimes we look at things from our perspective, but listen, like I said, like no matter where you are, you've always come from somewhere, so you're able to kind of reflect.
Yeah. Wow, interesting. Okay, so I think we've done enough past. Let's get into the present. Cool. So we've spoken about Long Live and what came from that. Obviously, seeing your business partner and seeing like there's more to be done here, there's work to be done here. That's how Mailroom came to be. So talk to me about the transition between going from Long Live to the Mailroom, like how that was for you. And was that something that you were prepared for as well?
No. I wouldn't say I was prepared for it, but I think at this point, I do believe I'm probably a lot more risk adverse than most people.
Okay.
In my community, personally. Okay. Meaning, like, I'm like one of those people. I got an idea, I believe in. I'm like, I'm gonna do it.
Okay. Period.
Like random. Like I ran not even ran. I owned a post office franchise. Random. Then I started like drop shipping for people because I was shipping so much of my own product. I walked into a random store one time and it was an independent post office. This guy was doing stuff. He asked me what I do. I didn't really want to tell him what I done. So I told him that I sold stuff on eBay. I started sending loads of stuff until one day I just kind of told him what I do. And then again, it was one uncle, right? But a beautiful space. We was shipping so much stuff. I said, do you know what? I think there's a trick here. Like he had all this space. Wow. And I said, okay, if you give me the space here and you allow me to buy into the company, then what I can do is I can help you to promote a market because you need more than just passing trade because you're fighting with Royal Mail here. It doesn't make sense. Yeah. And then basically all the people that are around me that I was designing for or doing product for, I just said, allow us to, because I was producing it anyway and manufacturing it, let's just keep it at the post office and we'll send it off for you. Wow. So that's stuff, random stuff like Link Up TV, 6-7, Michael Dapper, the list goes on. Do you get what I'm saying? Early days I was doing stuff for like Dummy and Tiny when Hood Economics and like that era. You know what I mean? So we were I had everything in one go. So even like, again, just down to that transition, like when I'm talking about being risk adverse, I was saying sometimes when the opportunities arise, and I think there's value, because I did console my wife and just said, look, this is what has come. What do you think of this? And ideas. And by this time, she knows I'm a madman anyway. And obviously, I was praying about things as well. I was just like, you know what? Just why not? Like I see something here. Like I like branding. So even just with my Zaha, who was my business partner, Wilfred Zaha, who played for Crystal Palace. It was just more that I just thought he was a dope person off the pitch anyway. Yeah. And there wasn't really a space to help market and promote athletes. So really what I was doing for our brand, I just transferred. It's the same thing, but just doing it for a person.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? How do you market it? How do you tell a story? How do you position it? How do you put it in front of the right people? That's just all it was. I didn't really look at it with the business mind. I just saw it as an opportunity. And I just remember getting my first commercial deal and thinking, what I've just earned within this half an hour of us being here would have taken me months to get. And I think that was the light bulb moment of, oh wow, like there's actually money in this. I didn't know how much, but I just knew that there was an avenue for it. Yeah.
There's something that's really interesting about the things that you said. Like we spoke about that post office franchise and like all these different things that you just kind of gotten involved in. What gives you the confidence to operate in these spaces that you don't actually have like that much experience in per se? Like it's not a field that you've worked in for a long time. What gives you that confidence to operate?
It's an interesting one. I think there's probably a few things. I think my mum for sure. Okay. So my mum passed a year ago, right? But like my mum was always my number one cheerleader. Yeah. And I say that from a perspective of like, especially like when you're first generation here and you actually understand, like my mum was traveling to like Liberia, Nigeria, all over like the Ivory Coast, all over West Africa, then came here. And even when I was younger, at one point she had an amazing job, right? So she's gone through all of that. And I remember seeing my mum grind. Like that's why I have very little excuses sometimes. Yeah. Like seeing my mum come home, she sleeps, then she's got the second job, which is the caring job. She's sleeping on the sofa. She's gone out and like, come on, man. Do you see what I'm saying? Like the odds are stacked against us, but that is all I knew. So it was programmed in me, number one. Not only that, my mum kind of saw that I was very creative from young anyway. Right. The person that's cutting out the cardboard cereal boxes and making random stuff. Yeah. I think that's one. I think the second thing is 100% God. Again, I think just understanding and faith. Yeah. Like knowing that to be able to get to somewhere that you can't see, you don't necessarily have to have all the details in front of you. I really do believe in like creating what you want to exist in. Do you know what I mean? I think sometimes a lot of the time we wait for opportunities to come to us. And again, where I come from, like I was saying, back in South London, we'd never had those opportunities. Yeah. So the moment I'm waiting, I would be waiting till this day. So just figuring it out. I know a lot of the positions that I'm in now, I wouldn't have been able to get even with the qualifications that I would have got. But now, the roles that I'm in, I far surpassed like any of those qualifications. Yeah. So it's just about the understanding of creating things that you can't see. And I think when your back's against the wall, sometimes you've got to go for it. Yeah, I think also is that my wife and kids is just having a good support system. Yeah. Like people that also believe in you, even when they think that is a mad idea. Yeah, yeah. But you've managed to pull it together, even when it's hard to see. That's it. It's just support. Wow. Yeah. That is amazing. Okay, so on the topic of mailroom, I guess the first question I have before I get into my second question is, what do you do for your talent, or what do you do within your role as like within the mailroom? Yeah. What does that consist of for you? Yeah, interesting question. So for me, the mailroom is a marketing / talent agency. I kind of tried to take away the sports like out of the title nowadays, because but what we really do is like our whole thing is about adding value to what already exists, amplifying voices, helping, people, brands and individuals which are in the sporting world traditionally to kind of like enter into both traditional and non-traditional spaces. and build new communities through commercial partnerships, through storytelling. That might be social media management. That might be through creative content, building businesses.
Yeah.
I think for the long and short, that's kind of really what the mailroom encompasses. But it's all about culture.
Yeah.
But the reason why, again, I take away sports is because sports is only the vehicle that I use to tell the stories. So they are athletes, but I'm not into the analytics.
Yeah.
Like, who are you as a person? Who are you as a family man? What are you, what food you like to eat?
Yeah.
Like, how do we kind of like really like amplify your story or push it into these niche pockets where we can still use a sports angle, but it's more lifestyle and culture.
Yeah.
And I think for the multitude, that's kind of what I do as a whole.
Yeah, because I was reading we were reading your Forbes article around how you were humanizing athletes. That was the goal. And I was actually going to ask you, like, what does that look like for the way that you look after your talent? But I think you actually explained it really well. And I think that's something that in our previous, like, in our actual podcast, that's one of the things that we spoke about that we feel like is missing for a lot of athletes, just to see that human side of them. That's really interesting. I want to talk to you about the recent surge that we've seen in like fashion and the culture, I guess. Football has like found a real prominent space at the moment. I don't know if you would agree. When we think about like Martine Rose and Wells Bonner and the brand, is it Labrum? Thank you.
Yeah.
That
Good
recently
friend of mine,
did theirs.
by the way.
Really?
Yeah,
oh, amazing. Well, obviously they've done their recent show at the Emirates and stuff. Does that excite you for the future of, I guess, and I'm trying to be careful with my words because I know you don't necessarily want to focus so much on sports, but in terms of the way things look at the moment, does it excite you for the future of football and how that can collaborate with fashion and the culture going forward?
Yeah, no, 100%. And I'd say just bigger than football.
Yeah.
It's like I've been saying for a long time right now, like fashion and sports has always synonymously like sat side by side anyway.
Side, for sure.
But right now they've got like a huge love relationship. Everyone wants to do it. Oh, how many people? Oh, it's the third kit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what I'm also very cautious of, even though I do love it, is that sometimes it feels like a bit of a gentrification. It's the same way that luxury brands came in and latched onto streetwear, and then it all just blown up, and now streetwear is. Do you see what I'm saying? Like I'm a streetwear. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I'm a streetwear baby. That's my thing. Yeah. It's price points. It's accessibility. It's so and so. But I think then there's layers that should be there. So of course, like I absolutely love it. Like I think Fode is a great individual. Like for Labrum, and I think what he's doing has been amazing. I was lucky enough to attend the show, and also contribute in certain ways behind the scenes with him. Again, you're seeing Martine Rose, you're seeing Wells Bonner. They all got their views on how fashion is. Yeah, you've got like the surge of creatives within sports as well. But the reason why I do love it is because when I first started and I was saying it weren't there, this is what I wanted to see. So it's the natural progression of it. Yeah. And I think there's many more to come. And I think just even outside football, like, and this is what I say, like, people don't actually focus on the other areas. Yeah. You know, we look at, I don't know if you know, Stephen Ashpool from the brand Pigalle, creative director. He was, he's the one who had, I don't know if you've seen the colourful basketball court in Paris. Yeah. He was a big collaborator with Nike, left Nike, creative director now of Le Coq Sportif, but also was the creative director of the Paris Olympics 2024, done all of their kits, which was phenomenal. Then you've got people like Grace Ladoja, Skepta's old manager, who had designed the last 2 Nigeria kits as well. Amazing work there. Then you've got like Ronnie Feig for Kith, and like the New York Knicks, Daniel Arsham, Cleveland Cavaliers, Don C, Chicago Bulls, Luigi Villaseñor, from Rude, over at the Arizona Coyotes, which is a hockey team, and Guillermo Andrade, a good friend of mine as well, for like the Leagues Cup of the MLS. These are all people within fashion that are integrating their creative outputs into different sports. And lastly, I'll say on this, like boxing, people forget, you look at someone like Ramla Ali, one of like her last 2 or 3 kits, Christian Dior, Off-White, she done a partnership with Daily Paper, and she done something with, I think it was Cartier.
Yeah.
Like, and then you look at Javonte Davis, Chrome Hearts kit, Human Made. You look at what's his name as well, Ryan Garcia. His last kit was Amiri. Like, there's so much in there, but like, it's beautiful. But again, because football is such a well-renowned sport, people don't really look and venture into those because they don't have cultural platforms. So I love it. Like, all of this is what I've always dreamt of. So it's just about how do we go in and then amplify and add our 2 cents into what's already bubbling.
And in terms of keeping to football for the sake of this question, in regards to what we've just seen and like some of the examples that you just gave as well, how do you think we can stop it from being a trend? I feel very strongly about fashion and streetwear, luxury fashion and streetwear, and how that came to be and how it ultimately came to end. How do you think it's possible to actually make it feel like a real marriage and not so much like a trend thing or like a gentrification of the two?
You can't. I think that's the honest truth. Sometimes you got to keep it real. Yeah. And I'm with you on that side. Like I said, I'm streetwear, baby. I come from the grit of hundreds and 10 deep and so, right? But the difference is when you get into these spaces, you have to understand like there are different cultural pockets and you just got to accept it. Yeah. Just like there is rich, there is poor, and there is something in between. Yeah. Like in these spaces, there are people that are there for quick money, there are people that are there for the long term, and there are people that are there for opportunities. So what I can do is service my community while the different like layers are contributed to by whoever are in those spaces. Also, you have to remember, even if I might not necessarily lean towards some of those other spaces, they all have a positive effect in some area. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I've kind of got to a point where now sometimes I'm trying to not be as harsh on my critique. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Because someone just like, what you're doing is pointless. Yeah. So, but for me, like I always say, even when, you know, with what I'm doing now, my whole thing was like, it's easy for me to get a brand that comes in and we do this massive collaboration. But then the problem is with those kind of collaborations, the price points kick out the traditional fans because they don't want to spend stupid money on product that also they don't feel. Exactly. So I want to service the community, build it out, and then have touch. Like, again, streetwear. Like, when I say streetwear, baby, like my mentality is that. Building infrastructures around a specific community that we can grow with, and then when we need to touch and go with like brands, we bring them into our world. Into your space. We don't need to venture into that space. Exactly. That's just what I'm comfortable with. Yeah, I completely hear that. Wow. Okay, let's talk about your role as Crystal Palace's creative director. Yeah. It's been 9-ish months. No, it's been over a year. Are we at a year? Yeah, do you know what it is? It's just when it got announced, but it's been over. It's been a year now. Okay, so let's call it a year. So how would you describe your first year as a creative director? It's a massive role. Like this is huge. Obviously, I guess you've got the title of Premier League's first ever creative director. Does that make it like feel heavier than it is to you? Like, no, I'm not one for titles. Like that, okay. Like, it's great, and that's not me watering it down. I'm extremely proud. Yeah. I think it was only when my family and friends really put it to me a different way where I was like, oh, because again, I've always just been someone that's tried to do the work. Right. I've never been this front-facing, I want to be seen by everyone kind of person. But sometimes it comes with the territory when you're doing great work. Of course. But yeah, I think, do I feel pressure? Not really. I think it's more about exampleship. I want to be able to do some dope stuff in the position that I'm in. But I am also proud of where I've got to, because I think 7-year-old me who was running Playdot would never imagine that I'd be sitting here. And yes, the creative director thing is cool, but like I said, you've got to do the work, man. Of course. And we have been. So that first year has been educational. Okay. It's been tough. Like I said, everyone looks at the highlight moments, but listen, when you're working with, whether it's a bigger brand or corporates, you have to realize, don't think you come in and you're like, okay, I'm this creative guy and I'm just going to change everything. No, the point of these kind of collaborations, especially when they have the advantage in the playing field because you are stepping into their boat. Yeah. How do we add value but still keep the detailing of who you are? I can't change you, but it's the same thing what I say with my athletes. I've got to be able to help you to just add on to what you're already doing, and then put you in different pockets by like just amplifying conversation. So it's been very educational. It's been interesting. I've been able to meet and have conversations with amazing people.
Yeah.
I think the team at Crystal Palace are amazing. They're great people. I've known them also for many years. Like I said, behind the scenes, I've been working with Palace for like 7-8 years anyway.
Wow.
Like on creative content, on photo shoots. I've been doing that. Obviously, I was managing Wilfred Zaha.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just been, it's been great, man. It's been great. It's been great. It's been great. But just definitely a time of education.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've got some, even, I don't know when this comes out, but we've also got some great stuff that will be dropping soon. So it's just, it's exciting times. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about it?
We can talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it. What have you got that is exciting you at the moment?
Yeah, I just think it's just like, I think with Crystal Palace, it's such like a community-based club. Yeah. Right? Being from like South London, their tagline South London and proud. You don't get more South London than that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And also being in and around Croydon. Imagine that. That's just them who just emailed me now. But yeah, like that's so funny. But like, I think that message for me is something that just gets overlooked just because it's in South London. Right. Because that message is bigger than the club. How do we tell that story that embodies the community? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like we got a joke in South London. We call it like the Mandems Club. Do you get what I'm saying? Because it's like, it's the most multicultural club in the whole of the Premier League. Oh, it's also, I think, the oldest club within the Premier League. Plus, it's in an area that is also very culturally relevant. Yeah. I remember just saying at one point, just in Borough of Croydon, right? You had Michael Dapper, Stormzy, Bonkers, Section Boys, Wilfred Zaha, Joshua Boatsi, and the list goes on. I can name loads of different people in between that. They was having a real like surgence of like, it was a moment. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. But we're not doing anything with those people. It's like, how do we tell the story of like the community? Because whether someone supports Crystal Palace or not, that message rings out to like everyone. And I always say, see, like, I don't know, maybe this is just the old me, like, but like, as in like my age, right? Yeah, I'm not even old like that, but you know, like you go somewhere and everyone's like, oh, do we have anyone from North London in the house? East London. As soon as it gets to South, it's like, it's mad. That is South London and proud. Do you get what I'm saying? But like, that message just needs to be told through different mediums and different formats. And I think that's just one thing I've definitely latched on to when telling these, you know, the stories and like converting it into like fashion and wearable pieces. I want to be able to service a community that's also been left out.
That is really exciting.
You know what I'm saying?
That is
and
really
I think
exciting.
that's just kind of really what it's about.
Yeah. So in terms of your actual role as a creative director, do you feel like it's developed within when you first started versus like 1 year in, looking at it now? Like, do you think you came in with one job and now you found like you're wearing a couple of different hats as a result of maybe where you started?
Probably, but in all honesty, I think my mind's even still bigger than what I'm doing now.
Got you.
Like, I think what I actually want to do, I'm not really doing. Do you know what I'm saying? I think it's the movement of so many different things. Content, culture, bringing people in, match days. So there's so much I would want to do. But sometimes, like I said, like what I was talking about earlier, sometimes you got to move at the pace of the people that you're around. You can't come in like a bulldozer. You know, there's so many people, and everyone's experience is different. They come in, they have a bad experience, and they're like, this is, you know, forget the corporate. You can't do that. It's, like I say, like my appointment as creative director for Palace is the equivalent of someone's record deal. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. People come, they sign all these contracts, they get bad record deals, and they're like, it's the labels. What you signed. You gotta understand that's how it goes. I know it might not be desirable, but that's just what it is. Yeah. And I'm not saying mine's not desirable. I'm saying I know what I signed up for. Yeah. Even if I don't, you've got to roll with the punches. Yeah, for sure. So I'm enjoying my time here. Okay, good. And I'm also learning through this. I never went to university on anything. So I'm actually getting paid to educate myself. That's also a bonus. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And that's how you got to look at it, man. You can't always look at it from a negative. I'm blessed to be in this position. Yeah. I learned through that. Wow. That was a really good answer, by the way. It was a really good answer. Okay, so I wanted to touch on something that we've already spoken about. So I think I'm going to
skip that question.
Yeah, cool.
But I do want to talk to you about another project that you have called Transmission. Talk to me about it. What is it? What are your goals for that? How does that tie in with all the other hats that you're wearing at the moment?
Okay, all right. You really was doing your research,
I did my
man.
homework.
I don't think I've ever spoken about Transmission.
Okay.
Like that. So Transmission is my production company, which, you know, again, controlling the pipeline. See how when I mentioned about the post office, it was just like controlling the pipeline.
Yep.
I create, I do this, I can channel end to end.
Yeah.
Transmission is really that. We was creating so much content, and again, we work with so many dope brands, but sometimes the creative output's not great. And even though the money might be there, I still want the people I represent to be presented in the right way.
Yeah.
I have all the creative means through my history and the people that are around me. So I was like, actually, if we can do this, I was looking around for ages. I was like, if we can do this, you might as well just give us the budget. And actually, you're going to get more value for your money because we are managing the talent. So that's kind of where it started. It was like myself and, you know, one of my partners, Armand De Silva, who's a dope creative as well. And, you know, through so many different people, like, how do we contribute to the creative output? Now, when I first started, as I said, I was pitching a lot of these conversations and stories to media outlets, and like everything, everyone's got their own timelines and calendars of what fits the remit of their platforms. And I have the privilege of having so many fly on the wall conversations, and sometimes I'm like, there's nowhere for this conversation to live. So actually, outside of the production side, Transmission is a media platform,
Right.
which I can say this now, really, everything's been built out and we'll be launching probably within, again, I don't know when this launches, but in the next week or two.
Okay, exciting.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, it's like, you know, we're having conversations now about, okay, football and sports, but then I'm speaking to you about Stephen Ashpool from Pigalle and so. I don't see these conversations online to that magnitude.
Yeah.
But because I'm into it, these are the conversations that I know there are other people that would also be interested in. So from friends, peers, or just people that I admire from a distance, there's a platform for it to live on.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be heavily sports focused. Again, and when I say sports, again, outside of football is the only real sport within our country that has culture platforms.
Facts.
And I'm like, it's still kind of sports centric with a touch of fashion somewhere in it, or a nuance of this.
Yeah.
For me, like, think about it, like all the other sports I've mentioned, they have no cultural platforms.
Yeah.
I just love the creativity of sports. So where we was telling stories on like Dazed, Wonderland and Hype+Meets, High Snob, Complex, it's like we should do it through a sports lens focused and let those other entities be the byproduct of sports. But again, it's like I look after a dope longboarder from Cape Verde, but she's based out in Nice. Her name's Marina. Amazing, like one of the biggest athletes in her country, if not. And like, even just working with her, like longboarding, do you know what I mean? But dope story, being able to tell stories in some of the biggest platforms, but traditionally, most of these platforms won't take her.
Yeah.
And then I've just taken on a female rugby player. Her name's Ellie Kildun, right? Picked to be one of the best female rugby players in the world. They got the Women's Rugby World Cup next year. Do you know what I mean? And rugby, women's rugby, like in the country, there's nowhere for it to culturally live, but her approach to it is different. So rather than always just having to go and pitch out, which we will do anyway, I've got a platform to tell the stories on. Again, it's just controlling the pipeline, man. Like I said, like I'm a bit risk adverse. So maybe it's the ADHD in me. It's like I have ideas and I just want to execute them because I can't keep sitting around and waiting for change that just doesn't, it's insanity. Do you get what I'm saying? I might as well just create the ecosystem myself.
Yeah. That's amazing. That is so interesting and very exciting. This episode will actually be launching maybe a little bit beforehand, but there's something to look out for. So that's all good. I'm gonna go back a little bit because I want to ask you your opinion on something.
Go for it, man.
We were talking on Hype and Then Some about the coverage of the Paris Olympics. I want to get your thoughts before we go. I want to get your thoughts on how you feel like. I'll tell you my thoughts first, and then you let me know what you think. Our thoughts. I'll speak for the three of us. We felt like there was so much opportunity to showcase a lot from a fashion perspective, from a culture perspective. LVMH had a big hand in the Olympics. There was just a lot of opportunity. I feel like I speak for all three of us when I say we were very heavily underwhelmed by what we saw. I felt like there was way more to do. What did you think?
I 100% agree. I couldn't agree more.
Okay.
I think it was poor.
Yeah.
I think for the amount of money that was flowing in, it wasn't there. But then you have to remember, when we're talking about athletics, that's a whole nother issue. We're talking broadcasting rights, viewership. Like outside of the Olympics, I'm pretty sure most people don't follow athletics like that.
Yeah.
I look after like sprinters, so I know.
Yeah.
Some of these races that you've got to watch, you have to download a VPN to watch it.
Yeah.
It's just not, do you get what I'm saying? It just doesn't make sense because no one doesn't want to put money into it. They do this. We had this whole partnership with the Paris, like again, well, I say we, it's not me, but like the Paris Olympics and LVMH. Where was the money?
Yeah.
Apart from your moment on the medals.
Yeah.
And you wanted to create damier trunks.
The trunks, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh God.
Like it's great like for talking points, and that was just them to activate in a moment. But I think especially in athletics, there's issues when it comes to like the top line. And sometimes the people that run it and how they see what's happening. If you go to track meets and you see the people that sit there and how they're run, it's dry.
Yeah.
That's why people don't go there. You got to travel 4 hours to Manchester to go to a track meet to see someone run 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And they're not creating an ecosystem or an environment that make people want to stay there.
Yeah.
I wasn't surprised to see that during this. So in their micro communities, there was stuff that was activated really well.
Yeah.
But for the whole part, I would have loved to see more. You've got the best athletes in the world for every 4 years in one place.
Yeah.
And you are not drumming the hell out of it. Tourism and so. Again, I have not managed that amount of money. So I'm coming from an ignorant place.
Yeah.
Right? But in my ignorance, as a consumer, there is also a point where I'm just like, actually, I can say it. I've been speaking to them for ages about wanting to work with them culturally. Also, a good friend of mine, Deji, who runs an agency called Gateway.
Yeah.
You know, we've even had pitched ideas together to say we need to go to like British Athletics and say, listen, we could help you to really bring the cultural spin to what's going on. There's personalities within this. Olympics is a whole different thing, but it's an athletics problem. Like I said, for the first time, people are seeing archery and so. Like these are the things that you didn't even like. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, where do they sit within this world?
Yeah.
So you just need people that understand to be brought into those rooms to help you to kind of really, as I said, amplify and add value. But top line, a lot of people, they just think that they have like it's a working model when it's not. It's dying. Viewership is down. The money that brings in, because it does bring in a lot of money, but where the money is spent for me is where the issue is. Do you know what I mean? You just don't really see it. And then you get the athletes that will complain, actually, they're not really paid that well anyway.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? So there's issues across the board.
Across the board, yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting one. We did speak about it for a while, and I think like our stance is very similar to yours, but I wanted to get your take because you're in the field more than we are. And from the outside looking in, it was like there was so much opportunity, it felt, especially with the involvement. I think more than anything with LVMH, we saw that as like, wow, this is actually the gateway for a lot of things to happen. But
100%.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's a shame, man. It's a shame. Like, but and we got to wait another 4 years, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'll be involved by then.
Yeah, God willing, absolutely.
Yeah.
So just to end, then I think on that. So with all the hats that you wear and everything that you've accomplished in your life so far, what do you want your legacy to look like?
I think, I don't know, because my legacy doesn't stand within my business. It believes it's about who I am as a person. I think, you know, as I said, like my faith is a big part of who I am.
Yeah.
And just being an example to those people, how much people do lead to Christ. I think in the working perspective, I think it's just about people understanding that there was someone that never took no for an answer, and that every time, I don't want to be like, oh, doors were shut in my face, but every time there wasn't a way, he just continued to build and create. I love what Virgil's done. He's an easy person to kind of reference, but that is a perfect example. He always said, everything I do is for the 17-year-old me. And the same is with myself. It's like, if I had me at that age, what would I have done? So I also create for the person that doesn't have access to someone like myself. So it's just exampleship, I guess. Like in all areas of life, I would just want to be able to turn around and like when I don't know, my time does come, whatever. And it's just like I left behind like, you know, like little gems or blueprints for people to move. I'll probably end on this. I'm not someone who ever really cared for doing podcasts.
Yeah.
The reason why I do them now in the position that I'm in is because sometimes when I'm looking for stuff that I want to see and reference from people that I admire, it's not there.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to hopefully leave some stuff that when people are looking, they can be like, I can reference that.
Yeah.
It might not 100% be relevant to me, but I can take something from it.
Yeah.
What is it like working with a brand where people now are just like, no, they got to, no, relax.
Yeah.
Like, this guy was saying that he was at this position at this stage and still didn't do that until whatever. So I just want to be able to leave certain like blueprints and mats or wherever you are in your journey. Honestly, I don't like. I'm extremely simple.
It's simple, but I wouldn't regard it as simple. I think you shared so much, and I feel like some of the things that individually between the three of us, we've spoken on some of the challenges that we've had, and like the way that you've approached some of those challenges that you've spoken about today and how you overcame them. I guess it's simple in the way that you think about it, but it's something that for a lot of people is complicated, and you truly are leaving that blueprint. So a big shout out to you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it, man.
I think we should wrap it up here, but just a big shout out to you, Kenny. This has been an amazing episode, a great conversation. Professionally or personally, is there anything that you're excited about that you want to talk about that's coming up or that you're excited to work on?
I think transmission, you know.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about it.
Oh, wow.
I've been excited about it for ages. And even just like the word transmission, it really embodies even what the mailroom is about. Transmission is about the state of power being transferred from one place to another.
To another, yeah.
And that was the whole thing of storytelling and why I started my agency.
Yeah.
It was like, we're fed up of giving the power and narrative to those people that don't actually care about the entities themselves.
Yeah.
So we are given a platform of expression to those that we believe should be in control of their own narrative. And that's it. Like I'm really excited about it. I've had the idea for years and just been starting, stopping. But now we've got full swing and momentum.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've got some interesting conversations that will be happening around it. I'm just ready to go. Like you look in the States, you've got like Uninterrupted with LeBron and Maverick Carter. You've got the Boardroom with Kevin Durant and Rich Kleiman. And like I hate referencing the US all the time, but there's something about the culture that they understand. Athlete-led partners and content platforms. We don't really have that here.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing it again to be the first.
Yeah.
But so be it. If it's got to be that,
if
man.
not you, then who? Yeah.
I'll be the sacrificial lamb. Like, let's make it work, man.
Amen. I love that. All right. Yeah. Kenny, where can we find you if we wanted to look out for you on socials?
Oh, gosh.
I know, to be perceived.
Yeah, I know, man. Well, look, I think my personal one is I'm under Free Agent on Instagram. The Mailroom, it's just Mailroom on Insta. Transmission is spelled TRNSM mission. It's easier, basically.
Cool. Transmission without the A.
Yeah, there's one S. That's it. Transmission, just one S.
Okay, period.
Yeah, but then that's it. But my LinkedIn is where I live, man.
Oh, really?
That's my home, man.
Wow,
forget everything else, man.
Really?
That's why I connect with everyone. I tell people. I DM people, but they don't take me serious on there. Get me on LinkedIn. Listen, you know exactly who you're going to.
Wow.
Like if I want to get to the head of an organization, a company, the marketing director, it is the place where business transactions are made. Wow. I live on that.
And it works for you?
Oh, man.
Really?
Trust me, it works, man. It works. Okay. You know what I mean? But I pay for it. They need to give me a free account. You know what I'm saying? Those premium accounts ain't cheap. At all. But it protects your peace. Yeah. Not everyone can DM you. Yeah. And that's where that value in kind exchange is made. Man, LinkedIn, man. Sponsor the podcast, man. Sponsor the podcast.
Yeah, they hear first. Okay. Thank you so much, Kenny. I think let's just wrap up here. Thank you so much, Kenny. And be sure to check out our episodes. We got Hype and Then Some, the actual podcast, and then Hype and Then Some Meets. But until then, it is a wrap. We will catch you on the flip. Thank you so much, Kenny.
Yeah,